My husband passed away recently, and while going through his belongings, I discovered a letter he wrote to his daughter, revealing that he never loved me and only married me for financial security. He urged her to stay on good terms with me to ensure I'd fund her college education, so I've decided to cut her off when she turns 18. My husband, 48, died after a prolonged struggle with a terminal brain tumor. I'm 45, and we were married for 5 years. He had a 17-year-old daughter from his first marriage. Her biological mother, his ex-wife, deserted them when the girl was very young, leaving behind a note explaining she couldn't cope with motherhood and disappearing for good. I entered their lives when my stepdaughter was around 10 from the start. She was openly antagonistic toward me. I understood her pain. Losing her mother was traumatic, and I had no intention of stepping into that role. I tried to be compassionate and patient, hoping she'd eventually see that I genuinely loved her father and wanted to support them both. It was never simple. While we were dating and after I moved in, my stepdaughter did everything she could to undermine our relationship, make cutting remarks or fabricate stories to spark arguments between us. Once she claimed I'd hit her, which was completely untrue, hoping her father would end things with me. Thankfully, he didn't buy the lie after we addressed it together, but the situation was tense and painful. She never truly apologized, just gave a smug look as if daring me to stay. The most dramatic episode occurred when my husband proposed. My stepdaughter had a meltdown, accusing me of trying to replace her mother and insisting their family didn't need me. That night, she ran away from home. After a frantic search involving neighbors and police, we found her in the woods near our neighborhood, cold, frightened, and furious. Following that incident, my husband enrolled her in therapy and arranged family counseling for the three of us. The sessions helped somewhat. She stopped her overt outbursts. She even agreed to be a bridesmaid at our wedding a year later, though her attitude was far from warm. She refused to smile in photos but showed up, which I took as a small step forward. Still, she'd make sharp comments like, "You're his wife, not my mom." Whenever she could. Last year, my husband's health deteriorated rapidly. Diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor 2 years prior, treatments couldn't stop its progression. The final year was grueling. I became his primary caregiver, managing hospital visits, chemotherapy, and eventually hospice care at home. My stepdaughter, understandably devastated, mostly kept her distance, spending time alone or with friends. But she'd occasionally lash out at me, blaming me irrationally for her father's illness with remarks like, "If Mom were here, he'd have fought harder," or "You probably made him sicker with your stress." I knew her grief was speaking, so I tried not to take it personally, though it stung deeply. My husband passed away 3 months ago, a devastating loss for both of us. I lost my beloved partner. She lost her only parent. Her grief turned into rage directed at me. In the weeks after his death, she repeatedly said she wished I had died instead of him, accusing me of stealing him from her. Despite my efforts organizing the funeral, managing his belongings, ensuring she had food and shelter, she seemed to loathe me more than ever. Our interactions were minimal, often ending with her storming off or muttering something cruel a few days ago, while tidying her room to gather dishes and laundry. She rarely cleans up. I found an envelope under her pillow. It was already opened with my late husband's handwriting on it, addressed to her. Overwhelmed by grief and curiosity, I read it. The words inside broke me. In the letter, written shortly before his death, he confessed to his daughter that he never loved me. He said his heart still belonged to her mother, his ex-wife, who abandoned them. He wrote that he wished she were there caring for him instead of me, a line that hit like a punch. He acknowledged I'd been good to them, but admitted he married me partly for my financial stability. I have a well-paying job and inherited some money from my father, and we lived in my house, which I owned before the marriage. I knew I contributed more financially, but I never imagined he saw me as a means to an end. The worst part was his advice to his daughter, to maintain a civil relationship with me until she finished college because I had the resources to pay for it. He essentially told her to tolerate me for my money. I collapsed in her room, sobbing, feeling like my entire marriage was a sham. The man I cared for through his illness, who told me he loved me even in his final days, had been pretending, or so it seemed. I haven't confronted my stepdaughter about the letter. She's read it, given it was open, but hasn't mentioned it, likely because it reinforces her view of me as an outsider. I'm legally her guardian until she turns 18, as per my husband's will, responsible for a girl who despises me. Now knowing her father felt similarly. He left no college fund, always saying we would handle it, meaning me apparently. The thought of paying thousands for her education after this betrayal feels unbearable. Would I be wrong to let her manage on her own once she's 18? Refusing to fund her costly college plans after learning my husband used me? Update 1. Thank you for the support and perspectives. It's been a few days, and I want to address common questions and share my current mindset. Many asked if I suspected my husband's feelings about his ex-wife or lack of love for me. Honestly, no. It was a complete shock. He was loving, affectionate, and celebrated our milestones together. If he was faking, he was incredibly convincing early in our relationship. He shared that his ex-wife's abandonment hurt him deeply, but he framed it as something he'd moved past. When I asked directly if he was over her, he assured me he was, saying his focus was on me and his daughter. I believed him. Looking back, there were small signs I dismissed. Once I caught him staring sadly at an old photo of his ex. He said he was just thinking of his daughter's loss, and I accepted that. Another time, during a pre-tumor health scare, he called me by her name in a medicated haze, but he apologized profusely, blaming the drugs. I let it go, not wanting to overreact. Those moments didn't scream he's still in love with her. But now I feel naive. Regarding the letter, some pointed out I shouldn't have read it. I admit it was an emotional impulse. Seeing his handwriting overwhelmed me. I can't undo it, and while it was painful, I'm glad I know the truth. I haven't discussed it with my stepdaughter yet. I'm avoiding that confrontation, knowing it could escalate. She might feel validated by the letter and use it to justify her hostility. Legally, I'm her guardian until 18, as her mother's rights were never terminated, and adoption wasn't Gabonite de Christ pursued due to her resistance. My husband's modest estate went to me, with no college fund for her. My income has been the family's financial foundation. I'm tempted to stop supporting her after 18, especially given her contempt and the letter's revelations. I haven't told her yet, as we barely speak. I'm covering her basic needs, food, shelter, utilities, but haven't promised anything about college. I'm processing my hurt and anger, taking it day by day. I'll update if things change. Update 2. The situation exploded recently. My stepdaughter, now in her final high school year, is focused on college, an expensive out-of-state university. She's a strong student and likely to get in, but the cost is steep, and my husband left nothing for it. I always assumed we'd cover it together, meaning mostly me. A week ago, she approached me politely, likely to secure my financial support, asking about financial aid forms and noting my wealth would limit her aid eligibility. I calmly explained that her dream school's cost was too high, and she'd need scholarships or cheaper options since no college fund existed. She erupted, accusing me of lying about my finances and trying to ruin her happiness. She claimed I was breaking a promise to her dad, insisting I owed her. I snapped, saying I wouldn't pay thousands for someone who hates me. She retorted that she never wanted to be stuck with me and accused me of seeking revenge on her father. In the heat of the moment, I admitted I read the letter. She was stunned, then furious, calling me a sneaky witch for invading her privacy and claiming I used the letter to justify cutting her off. She denied any prior promise about college, which is true. We hadn't discussed it since his death. Her rage escalated. She swept items off the dining table and threw my laptop, shattering it. I was shocked and scared. She screamed that she wished I'd died instead of her father, saying if I had, they'd have my money and be happy. A delusional idea, as her father had little wealth. Her words confirmed she saw me as a financial resource. I sent her to her room and she stormed off. I cried, shaken by her violence. That night I locked my bedroom door, fearing further outbursts. The next day I told her I'd provide basics until she's 18, but nothing more. She said she didn't need me and never did. I'm done being used and disrespected. This feels like the end of our relationship. Update 3. This is likely my final update. I've taken steps to protect myself. I installed security cameras inside and outside the house after her outburst, covering the living room, kitchen, entryway, and exterior. They're for safety, not spying, and I told her so. She looked uneasy but said nothing. I also confided in my parents, who were outraged. My mom moved in temporarily for support, easing the tension. My stepdaughter avoids us, staying in her room or out with friends. My mom tried being kind but got only glares, so we're all keeping distance. I consulted a lawyer to update my will, removing my stepdaughter as a beneficiary. My assets now go to my parents and siblings, who truly care about me. The lawyer confirmed I must provide necessities until she's 18, but nothing beyond, and I can pursue legal action if she's destructive again. I closed our joint bank account and ensured she has no access to my finances. Her biological mother is unreachable, so she'll be on her own after 18. I'm counting down to her 18th birthday this summer. My mom will stay until then, and I'll change the locks once she moves out, packing any left-behind items for her. I'm sad it's come to this, but the tension is unsustainable. I doubt we'll reconcile. She sees me as the enemy, and I'm done chasing a relationship. I'm focusing on work, planning therapy to process this betrayal and grief, and leaning on my mom's support. Thank you all for your advice and empathy. I tried to be a good wife and stepmother, but it wasn't enough. I'm ready to move forward and find peace.